Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, so nice to see everyone here today. And if you'd like to take a moment and allow yourself to share where you're from in the chat, that would be wonderful. I see that we have someone here from Georgia. Oh, hey, Maggie. I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. Where's everybody else from? We'll give it a few more minutes. Hi there, Karen. And Courtney. And Lana. Oh, while everybody is still taking a few moments to join, I'll introduce myself. My name is Lorri Gifford, and I have had the honor to speak at Sundays with Spirit in the past. I've been part of the Power of Love community for about 7 years now. And at one point in time, I worked behind the scenes at the Power of Love ministry. So I know how hard everybody works behind the scenes. Giving a little shout out today. Thank you, GJ, for your work behind the scenes with Sundays with Spirit, and Lana for the help that you're offering today. I truly appreciate that. And when I started in the Power of Love ministry, in this community, in the Power of Love community, I was living paycheck to paycheck, and my life was pretty miserable. And I was working a job I kind of liked to get by. And through using the tools that I learned in this program, and through going through the spiritual counseling training certification, I am now doing what I love full time. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful to be here today at Sundays with Spirit. We have an amazing lineup. We have Janelle, who will be praying for us. And we have Jackie, who is our musician today. And we have Maggie, who will be our speaker today. So I will take a moment now and I'll introduce Janelle and we can get started. So Janelle is a member of the Power of Love community. She's currently in her 4th year of the Masterful Living program. And she's also in the prayer practitioner training that Jennifer offers. And she joins us today from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So grateful for her presence. Janelle, would you like to pray us in?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Lorri. So I welcome you all to join me, and we'll place our hands on our hearts and we'll close our eyes and we'll take a deep breath together to settle into this prayerful moment. So grateful and so thankful for Sundays with Spirit. Grateful and thankful to partner up with our higher Holy Spirit self. So grateful and so thankful that this partnership is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniactive. So grateful and so thankful to come together today. We are grateful and thankful for the healing that we've come for. We are grateful and thankful that our minds and our hearts are open and available now to hear, to sense, and to feel deeper love, deeper wholeness, and deeper perfection. We're so grateful and so thankful for our host, Lorri, and how she will guide us today, knowing that she is spirit-led and guided, as we all are. So grateful and so thankful for Jackie's music and how she is lifting us up, tuning us in to the universal field of love. So grateful and so thankful for Maggie and the message that she brings today. And we are grateful and thankful for the deep and profound healing that she is inspiring us. We are offering up and placing on the altar anything before this time and anything that is to come after this time. And we declare our willingness to be fully present and receive the healing that is here for us now. We are saying yes to miracles and to being miracle minded. And we are saying yes to love now. We share the benefits of this prayer, this service, and our connection with one another, with everyone, because there is only one. We let this be in the grace of God, and so it is. Amen.
Yes, yes, and yes. Thank you so much, Janelle, for that beautiful prayer. Just sinking into that for a moment and just being with that. And now it's my honor to introduce Jackie Jones, our musical guest today. Jackie is a graduate of Newark's High School of the Performing Arts and Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. While earning her degree in psychology at Rutgers University, she continued her formal music education at the Mason Gross School of the Arts, training under noteworthy jazz talents as pianist Kenny Byrne, vibraphonist Steven Nelson, and bassist Larry Ridley. And she's currently teaching voice at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Jackie has electrified audiences throughout the US, as well as internationally, including Portugal, Germany, Switzerland, and Russia. Ms. Jones' musical associations are formidable indeed. She has opened for the legendary Lou Rawls and has performed with numerous noteworthy jazz artists, including pianist Nat Adderley Jr., saxophonists Houston Person and Don Braden, and bassist Christian McBride. We are blessed indeed to have her here today to share her musical gifts with us. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So happy to be here with you all. Thank you. Some say the walls between so tall, but they don't see there's just one sun shining on us all. I say we each choose roads to call our own, but none of us are traveling through this universe alone. And this circle just goes on and on. It began before us, and it will be here when we're gone. Yes, this circle just goes on and on and on, connecting our humanity, joining me to you and you to me. Seasons keep spinning on the wheels of time. We stand, we fall, we travel up the mountains we will climb. Different dreams may color what we see ahead, but our lives are strung together on a common thread, and this circle just goes on and on. It began before us, and it will be here when we're gone. Yes, this circle just goes on and on and on. One day you will come to see I'm joined to you and you to me. Round and round and round and round we go. Round and round and round we go. Laugh and learn and change and grow. Round and round and round we go. Yes, this circle touches everyone as it crosses every boundary underneath the sun. Yes, this circle just goes on and on and on, crossing every boundary underneath the sun. Yes, this circle just goes on and on and on. One day you will come to see I'm joined to you and you to me.
How absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. Oh, I love that. The circle goes on and on. And just that image of all of us connected. Oh, that lifted me. Thank you for your gift that you give to the world. Ah. All right, so now I would like to introduce our speaker, Maggie. Maggie Byrne is also a personal friend of mine, and I'm just so grateful for her presence here today. She's a writer and a songwriter living in Decatur, Georgia. Maggie's writing has been published in professional journals, reports to Congress, congressional testimony, speeches, and professional websites. She has used personal writing to understand herself and the world since she was a child, and writes daily as part of her spiritual practice. She has been in the Masterful Living program for several years and discovered songwriting after beginning non-judgment work through the program. She's classically trained in piano and has written a baptism song, children's affirmation songs, spiritual songs, and put personal and famous prayers to music. She enjoys spending time outdoors, singing, reading, and spending time with loved ones, including her husband, Eric, son, Henry, and Black Lab, Nellie. Maggie's writing, songwriting, and spiritual practice help her enjoy and learn from her life, including the insights she'll be sharing with us today. I am so blessed and grateful now to be able to introduce Maggie. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Lorri. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for the beautiful music, Jackie. As a songwriter, that's really nice for me to be able to kind of bask in that before sharing, and really appreciate that. And also the prayer, Janelle. Well, thank you guys for coming today and letting me share. I'll start off with a couple questions for us. Have you ever been angry at God? I have. And looking at that, I think my underlying thought was, how could God do this to me? Have you ever used spiritual teachings to beat up on yourself? I have. I have said to myself, I must have chosen wrongly because I'm not at peace, in a way to blame myself. The underlying thought I discovered there was, how could I do this to myself? I went through a big health scare this February and March. I was told there was a 20 to 30% chance that I had a fatal disease that typically has a 5-year prognosis. My doctor wanted to do blood work before determining what type of surgery I would need. Waiting for the results over the following week was stressful, but we tried to put it out of our minds. The blood work came back, pointing to an even higher chance, 40%. My doctor encouraged me to focus on the 60% likelihood that it was not fatal, but she referred me to a specialist. We would find out the results during surgery. In the days and weeks leading up to the surgery, I went through a range of emotions. I would look at my family at the dinner table, imagine my seat empty, and rush from the table before I could contain my tears and overwhelm. I began to notice some interesting thoughts. A lot of the most painful ones weren't about me, but about people I love. My son and my parents in particular. I thought, God wouldn't do this to my son. And how could God do this to my parents? It seemed impossible. It didn't seem as preposterous that God would do this to me. I noticed this discrepancy and met my guilt. I wouldn't have said that I thought I felt guilty, nor would I have said that I believed in a punitive God. But sometimes our feelings show us what we really believe. I also felt angry at God for letting this happen, for even suggesting it. But then I met my arrogance. Why not me? Why would it be okay for other children to lose their mothers, for other parents to bury their children, but not my parents? Was this God's plan for anyone? Who is such a God? I suspect we don't think it's okay, which is why, if you're like me, we sometimes avoid people going through these kind of things. It brings us close to questions about God that we don't have answers to. And if we aren't the ones going through it, we make an uneasy peace with it and nudge it out the door like an over-talkative dinner guest who has outstayed their welcome. But when it's us, there's nowhere to go. I'm grateful that I was able to realize that I was mad at God and actually accept that for the time being. I felt a huge shift when I actually accepted that I was angry and accepted that I did not understand any of this. This acceptance brought some release. What I found was that even though I was mad at God, was on some level rejecting God, God wasn't rejecting me. God found me in other ways, or rather, I think my honesty with God helped me see God showing up in other ways. How can we be open to help if we don't admit we need it? There's nothing healing about pretending we aren't hurting. There's nothing healing about dishonesty, including dishonesty with God. Everything is fine. There's nothing healing about saying an affirmation we don't feel. And there's nothing healing about shaming ourselves for not being able to feel it in that moment. I've come to see that dishonesty keeps me in fear, keeps me feeling separate. There is something healing about admitting how we feel. That's why addicts have to hit bottom and admit it. It's the first step out. There is something healing about accepting we need help. There is something healing about summoning the courage to look under the bed, and we can do that with God. In this recent experience, I found that honesty allowed a release and set the stage for a shift in perspective. I remember early in this journey, I reached out to Jennifer, telling her I was afraid and asking for prayers. We prayed together on the phone, and I was open to it. I wouldn't have reached out if I had insisted on putting on a brave face and pretending to be fine. Healing starts with honesty. During her prayer, Jennifer mentioned an emerald green healing ray. I've never been particularly drawn to some of these more mystical concepts, but the image of this green ray captured my attention. It feels to me that my honesty with God and willingness to reach out for help and be open to it created a little opening. So I grabbed onto this ungrabbable idea of a shaft of light. I found every scrap of green jewelry I owned and wore it. I wrote in green ink a list of thoughts and ideas that felt calming to me from the prayer with Jennifer, and set it out where I could see it, propped up by a green stone a family friend had given me years ago. And I started seeing God speaking to me in this language of green. I first called a friend to let her know she had left a jacket at our house. She replied, "Oh, that's not mine. I forgot to tell you our mutual friend asked me to give that to you as a gift." I looked at the jacket again, noticing its color this time, emerald green. It's behind me here. My friend had had it for years and years, and somehow, right at this time, decided to give it to me. She knew nothing of my health issues, and this was actually before I had even prayed with Jennifer involving this green ray. Despite my anger at God and my confusion, I saw God moving through my friend and showing up as a green coat left on my table. It made me feel like somehow what was happening wasn't outside God's plan. The next day, I went to get my hair cut. When I arrived, I walked in, and there was a large wheel of fortune-like spinner set up. Like that wheel, it had pie-shaped wedges and different colors that customers could spin to earn a discount or a prize. The first thing I saw when I walked in was a huge arrow pointing to a giant green wedge labeled green in huge font. Then the next day, I shared with my acupuncturist the latest health news. At the end of our session, she said she'd like to teach me an ancient visualization technique. I had told her nothing of this green ray business, but after explaining the technique, she paused and added, "This visualization is associated with the color green in my culture." Then a dear soul, a fellow soprano in my choir, said she wanted to give me a CD with a meditation that she had made on it. I listened to it and could only smile and shake my head in wonder as I heard her voice calling me to picture my heart being enveloped in a green light. I listened to the meditation again from the pre-operating room right before I was put under for surgery. Through these encounters, I heard God telling me he was with me. It was sort of a little joke, our little joke. And this made all the difference, because while I still didn't understand any of what was happening, I felt inside the circle. The physical and spiritual pain and fear that I was going through was still very uncomfortable, but it was no longer unbearable. This brings to mind what I've read is a distinction between pain and suffering. Pain being physical or mental uneasiness, discomfort, even sharp pain. But suffering to me feels more like a spiritual crisis. We can and will experience hurt. It becomes suffering when we feel abandoned by God, outside the circle. In Matthew's telling of the end of Jesus's life, we hear that even Jesus felt abandoned by God. It seems he had his moment of true suffering. He admitted how he felt, and in rereading this part of the story, it seems to me he was despairing as he asked, "My Father, why have thou forsaken me?" I used to feel a little off-put by some Christians' emphasis on the cross. But it occurred to me during this experience that the image of God suffering may be helpful for some people. If they see Jesus going through this most human of experiences, they feel less alone. God gets what I'm going through, perhaps they think. This seems like it moves us in the direction of feeling less alone, less abandoned by God. I think anything that moves us in this direction is helpful. I think it can move in a direction that isn't healthy, just another hole for our guilt to creep out, if we blame it on ourselves with thoughts like, Jesus suffered because of me, look how bad I am. And many, myself at times, have interpreted spiritual teachings as supporting the idea that if I were a better spiritual student, I wouldn't have anything but joy all the time. I was struggling with that perspective during this experience. Near my wit's end, I visited a dear friend. She listened patiently as I bawled on her porch that I had somehow caused this health problem by not handling past challenges better. Then she put her hand on my leg and said, "Honey, you don't have that much power." I felt so relieved. Now, I believe we all have God inside of us. Some believe that because of the power of God within us, that we manifest every experience we have. I can only tell you that that thought did not bring me closer to peace or to an awareness of God at that time. It brought me closer to guilt and anguish, and I would even use the word terror. It brought suffering. When I spoke up about this feeling in a small Course in Miracles reading group I'm in, almost everyone else had struggled with the same problem of blaming themselves for health or other challenges. So maybe you felt caught in this too. What was helpful to me was truly admitting the depth of my anguish, fear, and confusion, seeking help, and then being open to it coming however it came. What was helpful was admitting I don't know what anything is for. The week before my surgery, living now with the information of an even higher chance of a life-threatening disease, I again had to admit how scared and lonely I felt. The green ray effect had been helpful, but the feelings of fear had come back, and I was still angry at God. But I heard the nudge, go put on music. I walked over to the record player and was going to put on my go-to Norah Jones, but I saw a James Taylor album already on and decided to play that. It's a new album of his called American Standard. And it's an album of covers where he is singing old songs from the 1930s to the 1960s. I felt my spirit calm down listening to this album. I found I just couldn't be upset listening to James Taylor sing these delightful old songs. I probably listened to that record for 20 to 30 hours the week before my surgery. I felt another shift as I had with the green ray. This seemed to be another way that God found me despite my anger. And I think I could hear God because my honesty created an opening. What a relief that we don't have to fake it with God. He knows our heart anyway. It's healing to admit where we are. Once I admitted my anger and fear and accepted that I simply did not understand why this was happening, I also found God showing up for me in other people. In addition to Jennifer and my friend who gave me the green coat, there was my husband. When the blood work came back, he immediately moved into action, calling friends who had been through health challenges. He seemed to move so quickly and naturally into this role, and it was something I wouldn't have thought of at all. Within 30 minutes, we had several people we loved, all expressing compassion for us, encouraging us, and all suggesting the same path forward at a local university hospital. Before the end of the weekend, we were connected with a surgeon who would see us that week. This all seemed to happen almost effortlessly, which I have learned to recognize as Spirit's tracks. God was showing up for us through other people. But none of that would have happened if I had sat at home alone with this news, insisting everything was fine and that this was all an illusion. Another angel came in the form of a neighbor who I knew had had a similar surgery. I asked if I could talk with her, and by the end of the day had all sorts of helpful resources, along with the suggestion that we set up a website where friends could sign up to bring meals. We did, expecting to get a handful of meals, but every slot for 6 weeks filled up quickly. The love that I felt as each friend stopped by with meals opened my heart, and I feel aided my recovery. I felt so incredibly loved. I've heard Jennifer talk about all the unemployed angels sitting around just waiting to be asked for help. Out of respect for our free will, the thinking goes, they won't impose themselves, but they desire to help, and they desire us to admit our need for their help. On the morning of a hospital test, God sent another angel. I texted a friend a logistical question about what to expect for the test since I would be going alone. He wrote back that his wife was on her way over and would be going with me. Yet another angel showed up in someone I had never met. A friend we had called early on connected me to a friend of hers who was living with the disease I hoped I didn't have. At the end of the conversation, she asked if she could pray for me. Tears streamed down my face as she said words I didn't know until that moment I needed to hear. "Dear God," she said, "we know you love Maggie, this child of yours, not for what she accomplishes, not for her role as a mother or a wife, but just as she is. We know you delight in her, God." These were not familiar prayer words for me, but I realized the guilt I felt only as I felt some of it melt away. The words and essence of her prayer started to form as a melody in my mind that I sang to myself in waiting rooms and other high-stress times. In addition to the message of the prayer, more words came to me as a melody from the idea in A Course in Miracles that we heal not through isolation, but through extending our spirit and light to others. May a blessing be exchanged with every person I meet. As I walked the hospital halls before my test, I heard those words to melody, and I focused on that message in each interaction during those weeks. With the check-in people, the lab technicians who drew my blood, other patients, the nurses, the surgeon, the residents studying to be doctors. I later wrote these melodies out as a full prayer song, and I think songwriting is my purest form of prayer. During the several weeks of waiting, a friend loaned me a book about waiting by Sue Monk Kidd. The author shared a message from a sermon she had heard about how many of the most notable of Jesus's experiences actually involved times of great darkness: betrayal, wandering in the wilderness, being hung on the cross. The author asked us to reconsider our own times of anguish and darkness, not unlike the tomb that Jesus emerged from. She wonders whether we can think of our dark places as a space where something mysterious is happening, maybe even something creative. Can we think of the tomb as a womb? Are there gifts in it we can be open to finding? One of the songs from the James Taylor album that I felt the most drawn to is Pennies from Heaven. The lyrics encourage us to welcome the storms of life and anticipate goodness embedded in them. Here's part of the lyrics. Every time it rains pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Make sure that your umbrella is upside down. Would you trade it for a package of sunshine and flowers? If you want the things you love, child, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and for me. During my surgery, we learned that my symptoms were caused by something other than a fatal disease. I'm very grateful for that and still integrating all of this into my life. For me, these are some of the pennies from heaven that came from this storm. A deeper feeling of connection with God, knowledge that God is with me during challenges, that challenges don't represent God's absence, a greater awareness of and connection to my feelings, both emotional and physical, a commitment to honoring myself, my feelings, my dreams, my stories, a greater willingness to prioritize what is most important to me. For me, this is my family, creative expression, and time spent reading and writing things that bring me inspiration. Willingness to take small steps toward dreams I have, and willingness to approach it as a learning experience instead of something I have to get perfect. Greater honesty with myself and others, leading to a sense of freedom and authenticity. And greater compassion in the face of people and ideologies I feel offended by or don't understand. I find that I'm softened by my experience to wonder what trials that person might be going through. This seems to create a bond where our political or other beliefs might create a feeling of separation. Thank you for letting me share what I'm learning, and I'll close my talk with a prayer. Dear God, help us remember your unconditional love for us. Help us drop our pretenses and be honest with you. Help us be open to small shifts in perspective, allowing us to see you moving in our lives. Help us be willing to follow what you lead us to. Help us embrace that we don't know what anything is for, while remembering we are never alone. We give thanks that it is so, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Maggie. And in this space, I invite you to place your hand on your heart or your hands on your heart and close your eyes. Just allowing the words to wash through you, allowing yourself to take in whatever pennies you choose to take in. And as you breathe, imagining that you are in a space, the space that stretches out for eternity. And as you breathe with this space and into this space, you start to notice this beautiful green ray surrounding, enveloping, and coming from you. Allowing yourself to accept however you're feeling in this moment. Accept whatever you are thinking about yourself or about the world around you in this moment. Knowing that regardless of what is going on in your little self, you will never be abandoned by your divine mother and father. Breathing into this space being with what is. Is there something in your life that you've been avoiding having yourself feel any feelings around? Place it into this space, knowing that this beautiful green ray will envelop and transform this situation, this thought. Allow yourself, as you are in this space, to give a piece of your mind, your little mind, just like a little child would, to your divine mother and father. Breathing into this space, allow them to take your anger, allow them to receive your hurt, your feelings of abandonment or guilt, your shame, your blame, your suffering. Knowing to them that all they see is the beauty of the light that you are. No complaint, no worry is too big to hand over to them. Breathing into that space, feeling that beautiful green ray moving through you and from you and around you, totally accepting however you're showing up in this moment. And in this space, in this moment, allow yourself to be under that upside down umbrella. Hear those pennies from heaven falling down all around you. Shining brightly. And as you pick one up, allow Spirit to give you a message from this penny. What does this penny from heaven have to say to you right here, right now, in this space of love and acceptance? Breathing into your heart, knowing that however you show up is loved, revered, and accepted by all of your heavenly helpers. There's no need to do anything or be any particular way. Breathing in and taking that healing from that beautiful green ray. And then allowing yourself to wiggle your fingers and your toes, maybe do a little stretching. allowing yourself to become aware of this space that we're all in together. Opening your eyes when you're ready. And Jackie, would you be ready, and are you ready to offer a song into this space?
Yes. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you for that beautiful meditation, Lorri. And Maggie, wow, we we just met what 20 well, actually we never met. We never got a chance to speak to each other. We just kind of met on this Zoom call just now and loved your talk. And I'm going to try to sing a little Pennies from Heaven before the song that I plan to sing. But I'm so excited to meet you, and we have to talk after this after service, and I would love to hear some of your songs. So let's see if I can sing a little bit of it. Every time it rains pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Make sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, child, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree, 'cause there'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mm. Better days will surely come. So just you keep on holding on. Every day will be much better than the day before. All you have to do is keep on holding on. One day soon the rain will end. And better days will come again. Every day will be much sweeter than the day before. All you have to do is keep on holding on. Keep holding on. So start each day with a smile and look toward the light. It's only a matter of time and it won't be long. Just keep holding on. Keep holding on. Better days will surely come. Just keep looking for the pennies from heaven and keep holding on. Better days will surely come. Keep holding on. Just keep holding on. Thank Thank you.
So beautiful, Jackie. And I love that you sung some pennies from heaven. That was awesome. Thank you. Oh, so we're about to go into our breakout and in a few minutes. And as we go into the breakout, as you go into the breakout, just kind of sit with what resonated with you during Maggie's talk today. Have you been avoiding feeling something in an area of your life? And have you had the experience of trying to be a good spiritual student and kind of pushing those feelings away? And, or what is something in your life that after hearing Maggie speak about that you're open to asking for help for today? Any or all of those, or something even entirely different, you are welcome to speak about in the breakout. And Lana, if we're ready, you can go ahead and put everyone in the breakout. All right. And now we are together here on Facebook Live. And we get to talk a little bit while everyone else is talking about Maggie's message today. So, Jackie, would you like to share a few words about Maggie's message today?
Okay, I'll say a few. First of all, I'm very shy. I do not run at the opportunity to say words. So, just so you know, but so I don't have much to say. But I definitely enjoyed Maggie's talk. It was first of all, just from a musical perspective, I love Nora Jones and I love James Taylor. I always say I will pay James Taylor to let me sing background with him. So one of my true favorites. So we seem to be on the same wavelength about some things. So I'm really really looking forward to hearing your music and hearing you your writing and your singing and everything. So and I can definitely relate to just everything you said, especially about spiritual principles and using that to beat up on yourself, and then also just the compassion around those kind of situations. So thank you for sharing yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, for sharing. Oh, so grateful for that message, Maggie. So grateful for that message. And I'm wondering, Janelle, would you like to say a few words about Maggie's share?
For sure. Hi, Maggie. I've been thinking about you, and it's just so funny that we're here together. And I've been thinking about emailing you, and then now here we are. So Maggie and I were prayer partners at this time that she was telling her story. So it was just so good to hear it, the whole story, all over again. And I'm just so moved right now. I'm just like really, really stirred up, and having the meditation after Lorri was just like really, really helpful for me. So thank you both.
Yeah, thank you, Janelle. And thank you for your beautiful prayer. And Faith, I'm wondering if you would like to say a few words to Maggie.
Hi, Lorri. Hi, Maggie. Yes, it's so great to be here and so interesting, Janelle. I'm currently Maggie's prayer partner. So we talked the other day and we're praying together, and she said that she was going to be speaking about this today. I was so looking forward to being here, and oh, Maggie, um, so many wonderful lessons that you brought us today, and it's you have this really deepening thing that's going on for you, and I'm feeling it so clearly. And the willingness to move through this and to be able to really be with your feelings, to not make yourself wrong for having those feelings. I think that is so important. Been on the spiritual path for so long, and in metaphysics, the idea that we have created everything that we see, and that everything is, because of our thought process, which can turn around on us so easily and go to that place of, well, I've done something wrong. If I had been a better spiritual student, this wouldn't be happening. And that's just spiritual abuse, basically. It's like, it's not what we want to do. And thank you for bringing that to light today and giving us such clear examples of how you stepped out in willingness to not only adopt this idea of, wow, this green energy, I'm going to see if I can surrender to that and see what that feels like. And then it kept showing up in your life in so many, sometimes we think crazy ways, like, how did this happen? Even getting that top, in the green top, that you, before you even had started adopting this idea. And I was very moved by it as well. And I also wanted to shout out to Jackie. How fortuitous that Jackie knew pennies from heaven. Of course she did, right? I mean, that's how this how we are all connected. And as I listened to Jackie sing those words, I saw how they supported what Maggie was saying in such amazing ways. So I'm kind of going through things through myself, like I'm sure we all are. I mean, I'm not alone. And this has been such a great experience to lean into the willingness and the ideas of surrendering to some greater good that is happening in our life. And that a diagnosis is just a diagnosis. It's so beautiful to know that. So thank you again. So grateful to be here, and I just, and you too, Lorri. I'm just so grateful for your beautiful energy and hosting today, and Janelle, your prayers. Again, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Faith. Yeah, if you would like to unmute and have a dialogue with me, Maggie, for a few minutes, and then I'm going to let you share. So Maggie is actually part of the daily group that gets together to read A Course in Miracles, the text. And that is the group where we had this discussion, where this discussion was born. And it reminded me of your song, Jackie, how, like, the circle that you were singing about at the very beginning, because we were all so connected. And this week I've had the experience of having something happen to me physically that we've been having conversations about what you shared today. And as soon as it happened, as soon as I realized what I was feeling, I got out my journal like I usually do. And I just ripped into spirit for what I was feeling. I just said it. I laid it all out there. And then I said, please take this from me. I'm not willing to feel it. I need your help with this. And it's been such a different experience. It's like the pennies have started dropping, and I've started seeing them and viewing the situation very differently this week. It appears as though something's going on with my foot, and I'm a big walker. And so it has made me have to really reduce that this week. And yet what I started to see after I wrote that and felt my feelings was, oh, I got some stuff, a good head start writing on a project I've been meaning to sit down and work on. for at least 2 months, and it just reminded me of when you were talking, how you started to notice like how little angels were showing up and how opportunities were showing up, how you started to look at your priorities a little differently. And I was wondering if you'd like to say a little bit about like what you noticed about your priorities shifting. Like,
Yeah, that's a good segue. I jotted down when Faith, you mentioned the, diagnosis is, just a diagnosis. And I think a turning point for me in this process was another thing I kind of came to acceptance of, in addition to the anger and just not understanding it, was I accepted that I wasn't going to be able to prepare for it. I wanted to kind of get ready for the worst case, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and I felt some acceptance when I had this understanding come over me. You're not going to be able to prepare for this. It's too big. If you have that, you will be given the resources to cope with it then, but not before. It's too big to stockpile, and that relates to your question about priorities, because when I was kind of in this space of like, okay, let's look under the bed. Okay, what if I have 5 years? Like, really, what if I do? Like, not even just being super emotional about it, but just actually taking it as a face value question. And it did bring some clarity. People talk about that who do have diagnosis, who do end up having them, how it brings clarity that, you might not have if you think you've got all the time in the world. And it brought, I wanted to do more with, my music. I wanted to step out and share more of it. I wanted to spend more time with my family. I wanted to do these certain things. And I felt a lot less apologetic about that, and just kind of more like, it's okay. It doesn't even have to be perfect, or I don't even care. I just knew it was something I kind of had to do, and I also, as part of that question, so it was like, I let that information in, and really took that question seriously. And then at the flip side, I also kind of had this insight that it was the exact same. Like, whether I had 5 years or 50, it was like, oh, well, if I have 5 years, my job is to like give and receive love. If I have 50 years, my job is to give and receive love. So it was kind of both of those things at the same time, which maybe seem a little paradoxical, but it did bring into clarity for me some things that were important. And it also made all of it less important at the same time. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that was my experience with that.
through your share, what I'm hearing you say is this experience, and correct me if it's a different word that you prefer that I use, it helped you become more authentic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, from some other challenges I had had in my life, I developed a little bit of a bad habit of kind of disconnecting from myself a little bit and what I was really feeling. And I think through the physical part of this, it actually helped me learn to pay more attention to how I was feeling. And that actually wasn't something I really had a practice of doing. And I feel like I've learned that now, especially with unpleasant things. I feel more comfortable now saying I'm uncomfortable. And I'm not owning I'm going to feel that way for the rest of my life, but there's something freeing in that when I feel that way, in just saying it. It's like you take the power out of it by just acknowledging it. That's what I found.
Yeah, did you find that it's almost like you learned how to take care of yourself rather than putting everybody else first.
Yeah, I would say that was true. For one thing, it was very kind of all consuming. You know, I mean, just some of the symptoms I was having took a lot of my attention to kind of deal with. You know, I was eating these kind of things, and I was just having to pay attention more to kind of navigate it. But that did bring me to kind of being more focused on myself, not in a bad way, but in a way of sort of keeping me from getting too obsessed with what other people are doing. What's my husband doing? What's my son doing? What's everybody else doing? It kind of forced me to settle in where I was.
And I'd like to ask you this because I know that it'll help anyone that's watching now or maybe watching later. What are some tools that you found that were really helpful during this time? I know you said the music.
Yeah, I think for me, it was kind of, I mean, the big one, you know, sort of talking about just being honest, I think was really where it started for me. Being honest about what was hard, and part of that, not only with, you know, God or myself, but bringing other people in and being open to that. I think sometimes those of us on a spiritual bent, this idea of the, you know, solitude, and, you know, I mean, that's kind of an image we have, but I really found that that wasn't helpful to me at this time, and that really kind of extending myself out and letting myself receive help really opened up a lot of things. You know, I mean, all of the ways that I felt supported in this were because I was honest and because I was open that I was struggling and needed help. You know, it could have been a very lonely experience, and it was not.
Yeah, the helper allowed herself to be helped. And what I heard when you were sharing throughout is you kept saying, angel showed up. An angel showed up in the form of somebody I just met. An angel showed up. And through it all, there was this thread of you practicing this gratitude all the way through. You recognized it, you were grateful for it, and you let that in for yourself.
Yeah, I think, and it wasn't there necessarily at the beginning when I was just mad or whatever. But I think I certainly felt grateful when I saw the support coming in, and I was able to recognize, you know, I was able to recognize it.
How are you living your life differently today?
Well, one, it seems like a small thing, but it's made a big difference just in my kind of daily schedule. A friend of mine had told me about something she had read where we all have like a best time of day where we're just really, it's like our best time, and that we tend to give that time to our jobs. We tend to know that about ourselves intuitively and just automatically give that time to our jobs, and that we should give that time to ourselves. You know, and so I've always been a morning person, and for the past many years I've started work very early. And one of the changes I've made is that I take time for myself now in the morning, and I've shifted my schedule. And it's a really nice way to start the day. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for the gifts that you bring to the world and the angel that you absolutely are. Yeah. People are going to start joining in a little bit. Was there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Lorri.
You're welcome. Thank you. Just basking in this love for a minute, this connectedness, the circle. Yeah. And as people start coming back in, if there's anything that you would like to share, please share it in the chat. If anything came up, any ahas, anything that you realized, please feel free to share it in the chat. I'd like to take a few moments now and do a couple announcements to make you aware of some upcoming things in the ministry. So if you're interested in furthering your own growth through some pennies from heaven that have been appearing in your life, if you're interested in healing any negative patterns, or you're feeling stuck, or you'd like to heal some relationships in your life, or just feel happier in your everyday life, Finding Freedom is going to begin on Monday, June 13th. And the Finding Freedom from Fear Spiritual Boot Camp is taught with A Course in Miracles principles. And it is a profoundly transformative 7-week spiritual boot camp. So it supports you in a way. Jennifer leads you step by step through your breakthrough transformation, and it's a really comprehensive class. So I'm just going to take a moment and put the link in the chat if anybody is interested in. Oh, Lana, you already did it. You beat me to it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And also the prayer module number 2 of the prayer practitioner training starts on May 24th for those of you interested in joining in that. And I'm sure that Lana will put something into the chat in a moment if you're interested in that. Another tool that some people find really helpful is the inspirational texts that are sent out through the ministry. And you can either receive daily inspirational quotes from Jennifer, ACIM texts, or both. And you can just sign up with the link that'll be put in the chat. You can choose what links you'd like to receive. And when you sign up, you'll also have an opportunity to practice one of my favorite spiritual practices, if you choose, which is tithing. And I will have to say that tithing changed my life. It was the first thing that I practiced as a student in this community. It was more like, oh yeah, let me prove you wrong. Tithing doesn't work. And the day I started, I didn't stop. And my life took a 180 because of my willingness to be in the flow of both giving and receiving. It taught me how to receive a little better too, which was interesting. So whether you decide to offer a donation for the text messages, or you decide to offer a tithe for today's service, or both, your gift of prosperity will definitely be put to use. Any support that comes in makes it possible to offer the free classes through the Power of Love ministry, like forgiveness classes and support for that, Jennifer's ACIM radio show, the free ACIM app that you can sign up for your phone, free transcripts and daily prayer, videos and written inspirations, as well as free workshops that are offered to people around the world. So any kind of support you'd like to offer will be greatly appreciated, and it will make it possible to offer more inspiration and reach more people all around the world. So I'd like to know if, Maggie, do you have any final shares that you would like to share with the group?
I'm all set. Thank you, Lorri.
Yeah, and if anyone would like to reach out to you in any way, are you open to that? And would you be willing to put your
Yes.
email in the
Absolutely. I'll
chat?
put my email in the chat. Thanks, Lorri.
You're welcome, honey. And I am wondering if, Jackie, you have any announcements about any upcoming events or anything you'd like people to be aware of and how to reach you.
No announcements, but if anyone wants to reach me, I'm at JackieJones.com is my website, and JackieJonesMusic@gmail is my email. So feel free to reach out, and on my website I have my YouTube channel, and CDs are available on Amazon and iTunes. Yeah, Apple Music. So thank you.
Yeah, so simply it's just JackieJones.com. That makes it really easy. Perfect. And Jackie Jones at Gmail?
Jackie Jones Music@gmail.
Music at Gmail. Okay. Very, very, very simple. So perfect. Thank you once again. And would you like to share your final song with us today?
Yes, and I will. And I just want to thank you again, Lorri, because you're just such a bright light. I just met you as well, and I love your hair. And you just smile, and you just really radiate. Just as soon as you popped on the screen, you just have that spirit. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So just gonna invite you all to sing while you're muted. This is I think you'll recognize this song. It's one of my favorite songs about surrendering, written by Reverend Michael Beckwith and Ricky Byers. So feel free to sing along. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release, I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. I am only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, yeah, yes. Thank you.
Yay. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Jackie. I will be ordering some of your music. Yes. Oh, what a wonderful, connected service we've shared together today. So grateful. And we're going to end a little early, and that's okay too. Janelle, would you like to bring us home?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Lori. So we place our hands on our hearts again and we just settle into this beautiful energy that we've been harvesting, cultivating together. So grateful and so thankful for this infinity, that circle back and forth to you and to me. So grateful and so thankful that the healing has happened, that we have said yes, and that we can just resonate, steep, and simmer in this beautiful energy for the rest of the day. We're so grateful and so thankful for our speakers and Jackie for singing. So grateful and so thankful to be led and guided by Spirit. And we are grateful and thankful for the angels that show up in our lives. We are grateful and thankful for all the moments that we say yes to help, yes to how we're feeling, and yes to being enough as we are. We share the benefits of this time, this conversation, and the circle, you and me, with everyone because we are one. We let this be in the grace of God, and so it is. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Beautiful prayer, Janelle. Thank you for blessing us with your prayers today. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and being part of the energy. Mwah. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.